just make sure, get this Instagram feed started. And there we go. I am Coach James, and I am the creator and lead instructor for All About Aerodynamics. What is All About Aerodynamics? Glad you asked. Even if you didn't ask, All About Aerodynamics is a science program where I use Hot Wheels cars to teach kindergarten through 6th grade students about a range of science and physics-related topics, including, but not limited to, friction, force, aerodynamics, drag, lift, Isaac Newton and his 3 laws of motion, elastic energy, kinetic energy, potential energy. We go through a whole range of science and physics related topics after we have gone through all the science and conducted experiments to drive home those concepts. Then I bring in about 400 different Hot Wheels cars, and each student gets to select a car they think would be fastest in a series of races based on everything that they have learned in the course. And after they've selected their cars, they examine their cars, they weigh their cars, we test the speed of the cars, they take a picture of their cars, they check the year the car was manufactured. Everything they can observe, they do that, enter the information into a spreadsheet, and then after they've documented all of those cars, then we take them to the track, and they set up a 1/64 scale quarter-mile drag strip, and we have a series of races, and they observe how their car performed, and did their car perform up to or below their expectations, and if they had the chance, would they select that car again, or would they make a different choice based on everything they observed. So, at the end of the day, we learn science, we have fun with Hot Wheels cars. What could be better? If you would like more information on our science program, All About Aerodynamics, you can go to our website, aerodynamics.com, or you can check our Instagram account, Aerodynamics, and all the information is in the bio. And you can find information on how to bring our program to your school or your organization or your special event. But this is not all about aerodynamics. This is all about Aerodynamics Presents Wind Tunnel Wednesdays. So, what is that? Well, I happen to have a Funtech Labs 1/64th scale wind tunnel. It's called the Windsible, and we can put Hot Wheels cars into the Windsible, crank it up. We'll see the air streams, the smoke streams flow over, under, and around the cars, and that will give us an idea about the amount of drag each car is going to encounter on our track. And it also gives us an idea about the aerodynamic profile. Why is that important? Well, aside from just general interest in aerodynamics, it's important because every Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific, we have our 1/64th scale quarter-mile drag strip set up, and we race cars. And I introduce new cars into our fleet, and viewers who are watching can pick cars, and I will pull those cars. They will be entered into the tournament, and we race those cars live every Saturday. And if you would like to participate in those races, you're more than welcome to. But on Wind Tunnel Wednesday, this is when it's a good idea to kind of, maybe you're in between cars. Maybe you're thinking, maybe this car, maybe that car. And Wind Tunnel Wednesday is a good opportunity to put the cars into the wind tunnel, get a look at the aerodynamic profile, and there's some observations we can make that will tell us. It won't tell us exactly how the car is going to perform on the track, but it will give us an idea. But you might be asking, what cars? How do I pick a car? What are you talking about? Here's what I'm talking about. You go to AtTheTrack.live, and you're going to have 3 options. One's the YouTube stream link, one is the Twitch stream link. The third link is the most important because it's the one that says choose your car. When you go to that link, when you go to that page, you go to that link, you will be taken to this page. And this is our page that has all of our cars listed. I think now we're up to about 860. We have about 860 different cars. I may have a couple more that I still need to add in, but let's just go ahead and say 857. You've got 857 different Hot Wheels cars to choose from. There are all kinds of cars. There are character cars. There are convertibles. There are cars that were made in the 70s, cars from the 80s, 90s, 2000s, some that just rolled into stores a few weeks ago. We've got trucks, we've got gassers, we've got trains, we've even got some designed like planes. We've got the trains, the planes, the automobiles, whatever kind of car it is that you're interested in, we definitely have that kind. Hey, Rough Shot, we definitely have, we're going to pull out the Croc Rod. We have a crocodile car. Coanda, I think that's Christopher. Has a couple of cars that he's listed that we're going to pick. So all you have to do is once you go to this page and you start scrolling through and looking at the cars, each car is numbered. This is part of the process of what we do on Saturdays, and every single car is numbered. So if you see a car that you would like to see in the wind tunnel, all you have to do is take the number of that car. So let's say you're scrolling through and you say, boom, this Plymouth Superbird. You can click on it, take a closer look, see the reflection, see whether or not it's a metal body on a plastic base or a plastic body on a metal base. And you can, if you decide that's the car you want to see, you would take the number, in this case 167. You would drop that in the chat, and I will pull that car in just a little bit, and we will stick it in the wind tunnel. You can take a look at the profile, and if you like what you see, then maybe that's the car that you want to go with on Saturdays when we race. So when we race on Saturdays, what you are trying to do is find a car that can beat out all of the other cars that are introduced, all of the other cars that any of the other viewers pick. And then the car that wins that tournament, the car that becomes our Saturday tournament champion, will then get the honor of facing our fastest in fleet car, which is currently this one. It is the Blitz Speeder. It is the fastest Hot Wheels car on the planet. We have not found a car that can really, it's hard to find a car that can even give it a competitive matchup. It has been beaten one time, and that was last November, December. We had a car, the Gazella R, came through and beat the Blitz Speeder after the Blitz Speeder spent 17 weeks as champion. 16 weeks later, we had a champion versus champion rematch, and the Blitz Speeder took on the Gazella R. It blew its doors off and has not looked back since. So for the last, month and a half or so, the Blitz Speeder has been dominating every car that it has faced. And you might be able to pick the car that can beat it, but until that happens, the Blitz Speeder is the champ. So because the Blitz Speeder is our champion and our fastest in fleet car, and we know it's fast, we know how it performs on the track, it's always going to be the first car that we stick into the wind tunnel, because what you pretty much want to do is find a car with a similar aerodynamic profile to the Blitz Speeder. Now, there's some other things going on with the Blitz Speeder, like the weight is important. You wouldn't be able to know that, but starting off with just the aerodynamic profile, if the car that you pick has a similar profile, then you're off to a good start. That's definitely a plus. So we're going to take the Blitz Speeder and let's jump over to the wind tunnel. This is the Windsible 1/64th scale wind tunnel, and I think it's pretty great. If you want to see my full review of this, you can look on our YouTube channel, and the video is listed. And you might want to check one out before you, or check that review out before you buy it, because this is expensive, and with this up and down situation with the tariffs and all of that, it is coming from China, I believe, and so the prices on some of their things that they're selling have gone up, and they explain why, and it is, tariff related. So it was already expensive before that, so you might want to check out the review. Maybe it'll help you make your decision before you buy and spend your money. I've been pretty happy with it, and we are going to turn it on right now and take a look at the Blitz Speeder aerodynamic profile, and it should be, there's going to be like it's almost like it coughs out some smoke right at the beginning. All right, so let's see. We are up to 67 miles, there it goes, 67 miles per hour, which is where we start. It's a low speed. Our launcher fires the cars out at a much faster rate than that. And because our cars get shot out of the launcher with so much force and so much speed, it is it's one of the reasons why Wind Tunnel Wednesday and looking at and thinking about drag is important, because the faster a car or an object is moving through the air, the more that drag has an impact. So let's turn this up. And if you've watched any of these episodes, you know exactly what we're going to see with the Blitz Speeder. And what we're looking at is, you want to look at this first stream of smoke and how it hits the car and then comes up over the top. And the thing that's important is that airflow never separates from the body of the car. And that is something that when we put some other cars in there, you're going to see that is not always the case. So as we turn it up, we can see a little bit of separation, but the separation is just between this second stream and the first stream. And so this first stream, the air is still adhering right. It's going from the hood to the windshield to the roof, right off the back of the car, right off the end. And this is ideal. This is exactly what you want to see. Because as soon as the air starts separating from the body, then you're going to get pressure differentials, and that is going to impact the speed of the car, because the pressure drag is going to be acting against the forward movement of the car. So we're right now at 147 miles per hour. Stepping this up to 174. And again, this is exactly what you want to see. So whichever car you pick, whichever car you see in the wind tunnel, this is the kind of airflow that you want to see. You want to see the air, it's sticking right to the body of the car all the way to the end. And this is just one of the reasons why the Blitz Speeder is our champion. Any car that can reduce the impact of drag is going to do well on our track. So that is the Blitz Speeder. And it is, like I said, it's the fastest Hot Wheels car on the planet. If you think otherwise, if you know a car that you think is fast, you can just tune in on Saturday, and we will see if the car that you have selected is faster. If you have a car that you know is fast, but maybe you race Hot Wheels cars and you have a car you know is fast, please tell me what that car is, because I would like to get that car on our track. And as long as it's not too expensive to go buy it off eBay or somewhere, I'll buy the car, because I just want to see, I want to find the fastest Hot Wheels car, period. And right now, it is clearly the Blitz Speeder. And the other thing to keep in mind, if you've never watched an All About Aerodynamics At The Track Live race, our track is a flat drag track. It is not a gravity track. So cars that do well in gravity track races are not necessarily going to do well on our track, because again, I designed a launcher that fires these cars out with a lot of force, and it's just a flat track. And so when they fire out, there's going to be drag, there's going to be gravity, and friction working against the cars. And the cars that can reduce those forces the most is going to win the most races. And right now, that's the Blitz Speeder. But while you're looking for a car that may be similar to the Blitz Speeder, we had a car on Saturday that defied all kind of logic and expectations. Now, 2 weeks ago, we raced this, the Minecraft Creeper, and it's basically like a tub on wheels, and that really didn't, I mean, it did okay, but just the design, the fact that this area is open, the boxy design of it, we knew that it wasn't going to be earth-shattering on our track, and it was not, but it did okay. We had this car, and it is the Ain't Fair. It is a lowered bus, and we put that on our track, and it is a big rectangular block on wheels, and there was no way that I had any expectations this would do anything, but I thought it was cool, and if I see a car that I think's cool, I'm going to pick it up, and decided to put it on with the idea, just thinking that because of the shape, the air is going to hit the front of the bus, pile up here, and then split off from the body and create pressure issues that is going to pressure drag, that's going to slow this thing down, and just the shape of it, no way this does anything. Well, I was wrong, and this bus actually beat out, it beat a, was it the Corvette? It may have been, yeah, it was this 62 Corvette Gasser that it beat, 2 out of 3, and then it went up against a Lamborghini, and it went up against this Lamborghini here. And it actually took a race from the Lamborghini. Now, there's a million reasons why. Maybe the Lamborghini happened to get a bad launch or this or that. But this bus was surprisingly fast. And we're going to put it in the wind tunnel because maybe there's something to it that I'm overlooking or didn't consider or didn't realize was happening. But the other thing is that it's light because it's pretty much hollow, and even the bottom is plastic. The metal on this one, it's kind of interesting. The metal is this purple part right there. On most cars, the metal slab is going to be on the bottom, but for this one, the metal slab was on the top. All of the rest of this is plastic. It's hollow on the inside, so it didn't weigh very much. So that was something that came into play. But I think we kind of know what we're going to see in the wind tunnel. But we're going to put it in there anyway because that is what we're doing around here. We're trying to apply scientific principles and reasoning when we can. And like I tell the kids with science, it's not. It's one thing to think something or have an idea about something. But if we want to know, we have to conduct the experiments. We have to use the scientific method, put things to the test. So we're going to put the Ain't Fair in the wind tunnel, and it rolled forward. There's a thing that I ordered from Windsible, or from Funtech Labs, that is it's a dyno. And so it basically has rollers that you can that the car sits on, so it elevates the car, which would be better when we put it in the wind tunnel because we wouldn't have to worry about the car rolling forward, and we can also see how the air is flowing beneath the car. But let's check out the Ain't Fair and see what happens. I think the air is going to pile up in front, and then okay, so we're at our baseline, which is 67 miles per hour, and we're already seeing that the air hits the front, and then it's like, okay, where do I go now? And so the air has to go around, over, under, and you can actually kind of see it. Let me see if I can move the camera a bit, because you can see how the air on the bottom is coming around. You can see that air at the top, how it's going up the front wall and front face of the bus and coming over the top. And that's just it. These vehicles, when they're moving through the air, just like any other car, they have to push the air out of the way. And the design will dictate how easy or difficult that's going to be, that process. So Let's turn this up. We're going up to, oh, and sometimes the Windsible does that. It just cuts off mid-flow. But we'll just crank this right back up, and we should be okay to get things started. Sometimes I have to reset. So let's see. Pull this out here. Clear all that out. And this is the first version of this. So sometimes there's some little kinks, but for the most part, it works out, and it does what we need it to do. And so here's one thing. So with the Blitz Speeder, that airflow was sticking right to the body, but with the Ain't Fair, it's hard to see. You can kind of see it a little bit here, but the air is coming off the sides, air is coming off the top. There's no point at which the air is sort of sticking to the body of this bus, and with it being basically a rectangle on wheels, we don't expect it to. Now, then it brings up the question, why was it so fast on the track? And I think that may also have to do with the weight. The weight, and it's light, and then also the width. It's a wide body vehicle, so that means it's not going to bounce around the track a lot, and therefore it can reduce the friction that it experiences while it's moving down the track. So with it being a lighter car and being a wider car, those two factors may have been more important for its performance than its aerodynamics, because it's not an aerodynamically sound vehicle and there's a lot of drag. So because it's so light, because it's so wide, that may have helped it perform pretty well on the track. And if you want to see that race, you can go to our YouTube page, and it is the most recent episode of AtTheTrack.live. And we can see here that the air is just flowing. Now it's a little easier to see the air flowing off the sides right here. And all of that does is it creates pressure drag. So there's higher pressure at the front where this air is building up, lower pressure towards the back, and that just ends up working against the forward momentum of the car. So that is that. Now, all right, let me check here in the comments, because we have a number of vehicles that I need to pull. So I already got that that Croc Rod, and then there was number 6, so number 62, number 76, number, let's see, 265, I think that is that, and we are looking for 303 and 230. 303 and 230. All right. Let's go ahead and see. Again, if you want to select a car, all you have to do is go to AtTheTrack.live, select choose a car, and you will be taken to this page. And on this page, you are going to be able to see all of those various cars. Let's see. I'll just kind of go in order here. See what car is number 62. Oh, this MST Suzuka. So that's interesting, because this one is one that I should have. So let me, okay, take a look at the car. There it is, and it was in pretty rough shape. I don't remember if this was one that my son had when he was younger, but it was in pretty bad shape. So it turns out I had a second one. And we were going to have a race of these two MST Suzukas, one versus the other, and we were going to see which one was going to come out on top, and therefore which one was going to be able to stay in the fleet. And this is the other one. Now, the problem that we had with this was, this is the launcher. I mean, minus some of the parts that go with it. But anyway, this car has these, if you can see, those little blue fins right here. These side parts. I don't even know how to accurately describe them. I'll put it over here so we can see a little closer. And these things right here. This blue part. And the problem is that makes the car just too wide to fit into the launcher. So I had the bright idea that I was going to take a Dremel and just cut off this panel. Cut off that piece right there. And I started trying to do it, and I forgot to protect the back wheel, and the blade just cut into this plastic panel, but then it also sliced into the tire. So that MST Suzuka that's on the page for the listing to choose your car is no longer a part of the fleet because I chopped into the tire accidentally. So this is the one that's going to replace it, but I just haven't figured out how to get these pieces off more delicately. I was going to just pry them off, but the problem is they're connected to the bottom, and I'm afraid that if I pull it, I'll do something and bend the bottom of the car. So I haven't quite figured it out, but we can take a look at it in the wind tunnel and see if, when I can get that piece pulled off, if this is likely to be a top performing car. And it's got some interesting things happening with it. One is that right here in the top, it's got an opening. So this area here, this is open. So how's it going to impact? When the air hits the front of the car, is it going to come out through the top? Is that going to help direct the airflow? I don't know. But we are just moments away from finding out, because I'm going to lock this down and we are going to take a look. Yeah, getting that dyno, that'll really help. I ordered it, have no idea when it's going to show up. The shipping's a little iffy, but one day it'll show up. So until then, we'll just do the best with what we've got. So let's get it up to our starting 67 miles per hour. And it looks like the air, it's hard to tell specifically, but the air is hitting the front of the car. And it's coming up over the top, like over the top of the hood. But then it's also air that's going underneath is coming up through that opening. So let me see if this, it's a little hard to kind of work these angles, but air is definitely coming up through that opening, as well as just right in the front of the car. But we're only at 67 miles per hour, so, which you can see right there. Let's turn this up and see what happens. So now we're up to 107 miles per hour. And I think, for the most part, the air is still, it's coming up over the hood, the windshield, and then this top part. I think that's something else that we're starting to notice, is that you don't want a car where the back windshield has a steep angle and there's a steep drop off. You kind of want the roof line to really kind of extend in a slow, kind of gradual slope all the way to the back. Because if it stays in this way, we've seen that the air is more likely not to separate as quickly and as significantly as when there's a drop off from the top of the roof down to the trunk area. So it's, there's a little bit of separation we're starting to see. We're going up to 161 miles per hour. Hey, Federa, if I'm pronouncing that correct, how you doing? And we're starting to see, so where the air gets turbulent, if you remember with the Blitz Speeder, we didn't see it. The Blitz Speeder, that airflow was smooth all the way from front to back. When there's some turbulence, when it suggests that the air might be pulling away from the body of the car, that is when we're going to have that pressure change, and that is going to impact the overall performance of the car. So we have that. Turn this up. And we are now, let's go bring this down. And let's see what other cars we have to put in here. I was just looking at the, where is it? The Croc Rod, there it is. We have the Croc Rod, which is this car that, oh, and now we've got all kinds of things happening. Our camera has overheated, and we'll let that go, but we'll switch it over to here, and we will just throw it in the wind tunnel, and then we'll take a look at it a little more close up later. But the Croc Rod is a definitely a unique car. It is, it basically got this crocodile sitting right in the middle, and they put it on wheels, and it's pretty cool. And I think Roughshod is taking a chance. He's like, I remember there were some traditional picks, Lamborghinis, etc., and now it's just kind of like going wild and picking the wild designs, and this is definitely one. So it's going to be good to have this in the wind tunnel, because with some of these fantasy cars, you really just can't tell what is going to happen with them until you either put them in the wind tunnel, put them on the track. So let's see what exactly happens here, because I have no idea. But one thing I do notice is that the back end of the car is flat, and on our track, I'll go into it more on Saturdays when we're about to race, but finding a car with a flat back end is definitely what you want, because it can press up right against that that launching block and get a good solid push. And getting a good push out of the launching block is so important. So important. It helps the car stay straight and lessens the chance that they're going to crash. So let's see what else. Yeah, and then the tail. This tail is not sticking out further than the back end, which is also another plus. We don't want to see that, and so that's good there. And this is up to 121 miles per hour. And it's interesting because with this tail portion, so we're watching pretty much the car is centered up. So we're watching the airflow right over the top in the middle, and then this tail portion. But you can see some air trailing off the sides, and that's because the air is trailing off the sides. It's let me move this up, kind of get a look at it there, and over the top, so you can see, and it's just right there. So what we're seeing is how the air is flowing over the car right over that center portion. But of course there's the sides, the left and right sides, and I might need to slide the car over so we can see exactly what the air is doing in those areas with those parts of the car. But this is at 121 miles per hour. I'm going to turn this up. We're up to 161 miles per hour. And I don't necessarily see anything that's going to cause a problem. And with this car, it's just this white part that is metal, and then everything else is plastic. So the weight feels pretty good. And on Saturday we'll throw it on the scale and we can know for certain. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to push the car. I'm going to move it over just a little bit, because right now what we're seeing is how the air is flowing over the center of the car. What happens when it gets over these side areas? So I'm going to turn the wind tunnel down, and then I'll shift the car over so that we can see what happens when the air is flowing over this part of the car, the sides, where we have the wheels. We have these other parts of the car that are the other kind of design elements on the side, open areas. What happens there? Because that may determine in the end what happens with this car on the track. So I'm going to shift it over just a bit, and I can show you that. Lock this down. So if you notice, if you look at that center line, I know there's a bit of a glare, but you can kind of faint, but you can see there's a center line. So I just moved the car off the center line so that now the air is going to be hitting more off to the side, and we're going to see if we see any kind of noticeable difference in the airflow and the patterns and all that. So let's go ahead and get this turned up. And if you want to have a car race against the Croc Rod, or you want to see how it's going to perform on the track on Saturday, then all you have to do is tune in 11 a.m. Pacific, YouTube and Twitch, and check out those races. And so now we're seeing, so the air is flowing, it appears to be, it kind of bypasses, goes by the tire, and once it actually gets to the body of the car, it's coming up, and then in this area here, it starts to separate, and you can kind of see, it's a little hard, it's a little faint, but you can kind of see the air just fluttering away, like right in this area. And again, it's not something that ideally that we want to see, but it's expected just because of the design of this car. So this is what the Croc Rod, and this is at 121 miles per hour. I'm going to turn this up, and then I'm going to go grab a couple of the other cars, and then we are going to take a look and see what those cars are like. So now we're up to 134 miles per hour, and I'm going to go grab a couple of those other cars. All right, so let's see here if we can get our other camera back on. So let me bring this down. And this is just it. So it looks like Roughshod has seen enough to know that this is the car that he's going with on Saturday, and so we will see if this is in fact the car that can do what so far has seemed impossible, which is beating out the Blitz Speeder. And let's take a look at this one. This is, I believe this is the Roborace car. And this is one that, that Christopher suggested, I believe. And this is definitely a popular car with the students. And it has been, I've seen this car race a number of times, but sometimes with the cars racing, it's all relative. So I can say I've seen this car raced and it's fast, but I haven't seen it race against the Blitz Speeder, and I haven't seen it race against necessarily the Croc Rod or whichever cars may show up on Saturday. But this is a pretty solid pick. And the other one, I just want to double check because we're going to take a look at this one in the wind tunnel. But there was another number, another car, 76, that was mentioned, and I think I have, oh no, okay, so this is the Roborace car, that's 76, and then it was 62. Oh, the MST Suzuka. So we got both of those out of the way. So let's put the Roborace car in the wind tunnel and see what it's doing. And now one thing I did notice, it's got this big diffuser in the back, and I mean that's really solid. Like they committed to the diffuser on this one. So if it works in the way that it should, then that should help direct this airflow, and we may have a potential tournament champ on our hands. Let me get it lined up just right. And much like the Croc Rod, because of the design of this car, and once I lock this down, we'll be able to look over the top. The design of this car, you're going to have different airflow issues in the center than you will over the sides because the design is just different. So let's see with the car lined up in the center what we get, and see if we can get up to our baseline of 67 miles per hour. And this is not, oh, we got it. I don't know, this thing's getting a little temperamental today, and it's having these little minor shutdowns and restarts. But now I move the car back just a little bit. Like I said, with this thing, this Windsible, it's been pretty reliable. Haven't had any serious issues. There's some questions about the fog fluid, and sometimes I got a false, would it be a false positive, false negative? It was very negative that it was saying that I was out of fog fluid when I wasn't, and there was some manual resetting I was able to do, which took care of that. I think with this car, this is pretty interesting, because so now we're at 121 miles per hour. And, you know, I'm not really seeing anything that would concern me about picking this car. But we are still just looking at the air flowing over the top. And it's not really adhering to the body. Like, we can see the separation here, and it's not much, but what's happening is the air is coming up over the top, and just behind this front wheel, it's coming up over the top, and then it's just flowing up over the car. It's not really staying connected to the body, which is what we saw with the Blitz Speeder. Let me turn it up and see if we can get a little more dramatic. So see, as I turn it up, now this is at 147 miles per hour. Now you can definitely see, that separation right there. And this is, again, we're only talking about, for now, the center part of the car. And looking at it there, the air is flowing right over the center of the car. And so we're going to get a different outlook, or we're going to see different things when we shift the car to the side, just like what we did with the Croc Rod. But if I turn this up even more, now you can see that the air is totally, it comes up over the top and it just separates completely from the body. And once again, when that air is separating, it is going to create pressure differential. It's going to create lower pressure at the spot where it starts to separate. There's going to be higher pressure in the front, lower pressure in the back, and that pressure drag is going to work against the car. Now, let me slow this down. I'll push it off to the side so we can see what kind of airflow and issues we'll see when the car is moved. And let's see here. Because as Christopher pointed out, there are openings, and you can see it here, that there are openings. This area of the car is open, so the air will flow through these areas, and then once it flows through, then it will make it to this section, and who knows what the air will do here. But let's say it stays attached to the body of the car here. Then there's also another hole here. And then the air can pass right out the back. So it can flow from front to back through here. And then what happens when it hits just inside this diffuser? Anybody's guess, but we're not going to need to guess because we're going to line this car up in the wind tunnel. And we are going to see exactly how this all plays out. Get it lined up there. That looks good. I'm satisfied. And let's close this down and take a look. I'll show you over the top. So I've moved that center line so that now the air should be hitting right on that side portion. And we're going to take a look and see what exactly that means. And if we see something different, we should see something different, I would think, but this is why we conduct the experiments. So right now, it's at 67 miles per hour, and what I am noticing is a lot more of the air just sort of spilling off the sides. So the air is hitting that little hole, but at this speed it's not necessarily flowing straight through. It's coming off, which is why this area is kind of hazy. So let's turn this up a little bit. Starting to see it clear up a little bit, but there's air is still leaking out of the sides, and this is, again, not necessarily what you want to see. And it's a little tough because right now we're only at 121 miles per hour, and sometimes as I increase the speed, then we can see a little bit, get a little bit better picture. And the air is still, it's not flowing straight through that hole like we would have maybe expected. It is just, it's coming through, and I don't know what, there's probably little pillars or something in there that are interrupting the airflow, but by the time it comes out, it's just kind of dribbling out of this area and then just doing its own thing. I don't know if it can, it's a little tough, but right above the 33, you can kind of just see the airflow, and it's not a solid stream, which it should be ideally at 147 miles per hour. Let's see if we can take this up a little further. So this is at 174. And again, the air comes out of here and it's just kind of fluttering up. It's not a solid, clean stream going from front to back. So I don't know that that's going to help this car. I don't know how much it's going to hurt it necessarily, but I don't think it's going to help. So let me grab two other cars while we look at this. 303 and 230. All right, let's wind this down here. No, the car's not. It's not too wide. It kind of has that look to it, but the actual car isn't all that wide, surprisingly. And so it should, if that is a car that is selected, it should be good to go on the track. Now another one that someone wanted to see is this one, which is the Super Stinger. And this one's kind of interesting. Okay, so Christopher says he's going with the Robo race car. Good solid pick. And now what I did notice with the Robo race car is in picking it up to clean because this fog fluid it's an oil-based thing. And so you do need to, I mean, there's not a lot of residue on the car, but you do need to wipe it off. And one thing when I was picking it up, cleaning it up, is all the white part on this car is metal. So this is a metal body. The red and the black are plastic, so it's a metal body on a plastic base. On Saturday, we actually weigh the cars, and so we'll find out where it stands in regard to all that on Saturday. Let's see here. We are going to take a look at this Super Stinger. This one's interesting because it's got such deep lines. So I'm thinking that the air, what we're seeing is the air is going to hit the car here. It's going to flow up. And then right around here, it's just going to break off and just fly up into the air. We're going to see separation. It's not going to flow from up here, down the body, and then off the back. We're going to see the air just tail off right here. I'm almost certain. And the reason why I'm almost certain is because just like I tell the students to do, make observations. And I've just been observing that the only time that we're seeing airflow just adhere to the body of the car is when there's not a lot of separation or drop off between wherever the top of the roof line is to the back of the car. And right here we have this big drop off. So I think the air is going to hit here and just flow straight. It's not going to go up into the air or anything like that. I think it's just going to flow straight. So let's see if I'm right or maybe I'm wrong. Either way, we're putting this car into the wind tunnel. So let's see over here what that looks like. And sit this car down. Yeah, like a truck. But with some of these fantasy cars, you just never know, because these are the ones that I actually like seeing in the wind tunnel, because we don't have a reference in the real world. So it is kind of cool to see. And then ultimately, see them on the track. So this Super Stinger is right here, and we will turn this up. So we're at 67. It's 67 miles per hour, and this is, I mean, we're kind of seeing what I was talking about, but not necessarily at this speed. But once we turn it up, now we're at 107 miles per hour, and we can see that the air is doing exactly what we said. It's coming up over the top, very tight and clean, right on the hood. But then once you get to this apex, then it just flows straight off. And if it were doing the same thing it was doing with the Blitz Speeder, then what we would see is this first line of air dipping down and following along the body, but we're not seeing that. And I don't think we expected to see it, but let's turn up the speed. And now we're up to 147 miles per hour, 161. And again, the air is just flowing from this point right off the back. Now, we can't really tell what's happening underneath the car, so the air is hitting right at the front bumper, and some is coming underneath. But it's a little tough to say exactly what's happening. I can move this, and around that rear wheel, the front of the rear wheel, you can just see some air kind of leaking out from the bottom and just kind of swirling around. But up top, we're definitely seeing the air detach from the body, and that is not, in the end, that is not helpful for this car. Now this, let's see if we turn it up. Yeah, it's just all that additional turbulent air, and you can even see these vortexes that's just spinning off the back in kind of an interesting way. See if you can kind of see that air at the back, what's happening on that back end of the car. And now a lot of that happened, things that are happening at the back end of the car and with the airflow, that's usually, I mean, in real cars, the idea is to produce downforce, and the downforce is necessary, especially F1 cars, race cars, supercars, all of those things, because obviously you want to keep the wheels on the ground. That is just a little bit important when you are traveling at high speeds, at any speeds, but especially at high speeds, and you want to maintain that traction and that grip. And so creating downforce is very important. Now, some of these cars, these Hot Wheels cars, they do have wings, but the wings have to be shaped in a very specific way to create downforce. And if they're shaped the opposite way, then that would be like an airplane wing, and that creates lift. So there are two different forces that we are potentially looking at, just depending on the shape of the wing. So while a lot of these Hot Wheels cars have wings, I don't know that the basic mainline cars, that they've gone into precise detail with the shaping of the wings to have wings that actually create downforce that a real wing would create. But two of the things that we're always looking at are, one is the Coanda Effect, which explains, how a moving fluid like air tends to follow a curved surface. So we see a great example of that with the Blitz Speeder, with that air flowing right over the top of the car, right across the roof line, right across the back end and off. It's just following that smooth curved surface, And that's what we'd like to see with some of the other cars, but most cars have little different design elements that prevent that from happening. So we don't always get to see that. And then when the car, you can see from the graphic, the air builds up in the front of the car. It creates high pressure. As soon as that air breaks away from the body of the car, it starts to create areas of low pressure. And when the air moves over the top of the car, it's moving slower than the air on the bottom. The air on the top creates high pressure because it's moving slower. The air that's forced under the car is moving faster and creates low pressure. And the pressure always wants to go from high to low, which is why when we have high pressure at the front of the car and low pressure at the back, then the pressure is going to go from front to back. But the car is trying to move in the opposite direction. So that pressure drag is creating a problem for that car. And that is just one of the things that we can observe and take a look at. So those are just two things that are kind of important when we're looking at cars in the wind tunnel. And so I'm going to put, we've got two more. Well, I'm going to grab, I'll put this one in. So this one was one that I think Roughshod put in. It's either 303 or 230, one of the two. I forget. It doesn't have a name on the bottom because this is one that my son got in a Hot Wheels Happy Meal promotion that McDonald's was doing. And this car actually has a little switch on the bottom. I don't know if the light on the inside still works. It does not. But it has a switch on the bottom. And it used to have a little light on the inside. I think I may be able to see a couple of batteries in there. I don't know if this can be opened up, but I'll show you a close-up view, which is this car here. And there's not much to it. Pretty kind of standard, generic fantasy car. But I am going to grab, I believe it is 619, the last car that we'll take a look at in the wind tunnel, which is the West Coast Flyer, which is interesting. Christopher wanted to take a look at that because it is a train. So let's see, it is 619. Rey Mysterio, let's see, 619. The West Coast Flyer is one of two trains that I'm aware of that I know that we have. Oh, Nitrium. Thank you. Nitrium. That's going to help me when I go to put these, when I go to put all these back in the right place. Thanks. Yeah. Because these McDonald's cars, the ones I have, a few of them that he got from there, that on the bottom they just say 2000. It says 2005 Mattel, manufactured for McDonald's Corporation, and then it's got the little switch with the light gimmick in there. I'm gonna have to see if I can crack that open and change those. It looks like it's got two little round batteries, but nevertheless. The West Coast Flyer. The West Coast Flyer is this train right here. And the other train that we have is the Loco Motorin or something. I forget the actual name of it, but the one that I have looks like Thomas the Tank Engine. And I remember that one was pretty fast. Surprisingly fast. So we might have to have a train versus train, locomotive versus locomotive showdown. But for our last car that we're going to put in the wind tunnel today, let's go ahead and take a look at the West Coast Flyer. And it's got like an interesting profile. It's got a huge front area. There's a big surface area that air is going to have to hit. And then what happens with the air after it hits that part? Does it just flow along this line here? Do these smokestack thing, do those interrupt the airflow? What happens? We're going to find out in just a moment. So let's go ahead and switch over back to the wind tunnel, drop this in, and take a look. I don't know that this has been, I think I was mentioning on email when asked about this one that it's, I don't know that any students have picked it. It was introduced to the fleet probably about a year ago, so I'm sure it raced on AtTheTrack.live, but I don't know that it actually, I don't remember how it performed. And if it was going up against a smaller, faster car, then it probably didn't have a good chance of doing much of anything. But let's go ahead and take a look at this aerodynamic profile here. So we've cranked this up. This is at 67 miles per hour, which is pretty basic. And one thing that I can notice is happening is the air is hitting the front of the train. And then, again, the air has to go somewhere. So it's coming around that nose piece and then up kind of the fender right here. And then just flowing along the sides of the train. The air that's hitting right at the top seems to be spinning off that cylinder at the top. But let's go ahead and turn this up, because as we increase the speed of the air, then we can usually get a little bit more definition about what's happening. And air is just, it's trailing off the train on the sides. So the air is hitting in the front. Let me bring this up top. So the air is hitting in the front, and then it's coming around the sides. And if you look just above that front wheel, you can see the air just kind of fluttering around. And it's definitely separating from the body of the train. And that is not, that's not good. This overhead view doesn't, you can kind of see the air flowing around the sides a bit. But I think the main area and section we're looking at and should be kind of focused on is right in this area. That air is hitting the front, coming up, coming around the sides of this big cylinder in the middle, and then it's just becoming detached from the body. And as we've said, that's going to create that pressure drag, which is going to work against this train. I also don't know how much this thing weighs, but it looks like it's probably going to be one of our heavier vehicles. And so then gravity is going to be doing its thing. And I can understand why against a smaller car, this train would not do particularly well. It's just not, it's not set up to do well. It's not, maybe against other trains, but against any other car, this is going to be a problem. So much like with the Blitz Speeder, what you want to see in a car that you pick is that airflow, that air is adhering to the body, that there's not a lot of separation. We saw that, so with the Croc Rod and the Roborace Robocar, those were interesting because the center parts of those cars, we saw good solid airflow. We saw an example of the Coanda Effect. We saw that airflow adhering to the body of the car. But when we push those cars just to the side, then we saw airflow patterns that really didn't suggest that those cars were going to have the best aerodynamic profile. So let's turn this up a little bit. And as the airspeed increases, all we're seeing is just additional separation of flow in the airs, doing all kinds of things, coming out of the sides. I can't wait to get that dyno. This is up to 188 miles per hour. And can just see. You can see exactly where the air is hitting, but even though we know that the the airstream is coming out and hitting the car right on the nose, that air is spilling off around the sides, and that is that's definitely a problem. So the West Coast Flyer, if it's racing that Thomas the Tank Engine car, if it is racing that, I forget the name of it, there's a Tanknator, which is a tank car, or if it's racing, there's another tank that we have that's got about 6 or 8 wheels on it. If it's racing one of those two cars, I'd give it a shot. But racing against an actual car, no, I don't. I'm not giving it any the benefit of any doubt. Although, as Roughshod points out, this bus, the Ain't Fair, it did kind of change the game. It's surprising, but I think with this one, while it's not aerodynamically, it's a bad pick. But I think there were other things that were working in its favor. And we talk about the 3 forces that are operating against the cars on our track, and that's gravity, friction, and drag. We can look at the drag when we put the cars in the wind tunnel, and we can know, okay, bad aerodynamic profile, this shouldn't do well. But that's just one factor. So when we're talking about cars doing well on the track, okay, that's one factor. Bad aerodynamics, it gets low points. But then weight, it turns out all this plastic made it light. The fact that it's hollow made it light. Okay, then it's wide. It's a wide bus, and because it's wide, that reduces the chance that it's going to bounce around on the track, and therefore it cuts down on the friction. So it's reduced. So with the weight being reduced, with the friction being reduced, now it's kind of really the thing that's the most negatively impacting it is its bad aerodynamics and the drag. So it was faster than this car. It beat this car 2 out of 3 races. And this car with these little skinny disc wheels, this Corvette gasser, just the shame of the fleet for losing to a bus. But that's what happened. So if you want to see what could happen with these cars, all you have to do is join us on Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific and whatever time wherever you are. And we race these cars live. So we've already got 2 cars lined up. This Croc Rod, this Roborace Robocar, or the Robocar Roborace, what's it called? The Roborace Robocar. We've got 2 cars lined up. I'm going to be bringing in some cars from storage. We're going to crack those open, take a look at those, do a little review, take a little video, weigh the cars, and then once we've got them all set up, we're going to take them to the track and see if any of these cars can finally step up and beat our fastest in fleet car, the Blitz Speeder, the fastest Hot Wheels car on the planet. If they can, then you could be a witness to some Hot Wheels history on our channel. But that is every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Pacific, live on YouTube and Twitch. We can't do it on Instagram because we need the wider screen view. So all you have to do is go to AtTheTrack.live right down there, and you can choose your car. Go through. We have 850 plus cars for you to choose from. Go through, find the car that you think would be fastest, and take the number of that car. And on Saturday, you drop it in the chat. I'll pull the car. We'll race the cars, and we will see exactly what happens. So we have that going on. If you would like more information about All About Aerodynamics, our science program that uses Hot Wheels cars to teach kindergarten through 6th grade students about a range of science and physics related topics using Hot Wheels cars, then all you have to do is go to our website, aaerodynamics.com, or follow us on Instagram, AtTheTrack.live, and all the information that you need is there. And you can contact me, ask me any questions that you may have, but we would love to bring our science program to your school or your organization or your special event. And we will be back here next Wednesday, Wind Tunnel Wednesdays, taking more cars, putting them in the wind tunnel, looking at those aerodynamic profiles and trying to see if what we see in the wind tunnel matches up with what we see on the track. And also, we'll have cars that we introduce and see on the track first that we're going to wonder what's going on with the aerodynamics, and then we'll bring it here and put it in the wind tunnel. And it's just what we do, take a little bit of a little more of a scientific kind of deep dive into the design of Hot Wheels and our approach to racing Hot Wheels cars. So just having a little fun. I spent my money on the Windsible Wind Tunnel, so you don't necessarily have to. You can just pick a car and we'll put it in the wind tunnel here. So yeah, that is what we've got going. We've got 2 cars that we already saw. I want to see them on the track. The Croc Rod, the Roborace Robocar. We're going to see how those perform, what they can do, and if they are going to be a serious threat to the Blitz Speeder. Until Saturday, 11 a.m. at the Track Live. Until then, I am Coach James for Wind Tunnel Wednesday, for All About Aerodynamics, and for At the Track Live. And until next time, I will see you at the races.